This iconic quote by Carl Jung challenges us to reflect on humanity's deepest struggles, including addiction. Often dismissed as a mere character flaw, addiction conceals roots embedded in trauma, unresolved pain, and an overwhelming existential void. It reveals a startling truth. The issue is not the addiction itself, but what it attempts to mask. We live in a world that glorifies productivity and consumption while neglecting the need for self-awareness and emotional connection. Gabor Maté, a renowned expert on the subject, asserts that addiction is an attempt to ease emotional pain within a system that perpetuates suffering, often without the addict realizing it. It's an uncomfortable perspective, but one that holds transformative power. After all, who hasn't turned to small anesthetics to silence inner voices or fill the emptiness of a purpose-starved routine? In this video, we'll explore how the insights of Jung and Maté can reshape your understanding of addiction, whether it's your own or that of someone close to you. Get ready to reflect, question, and perhaps begin to forge a path toward genuine healing, because, contrary to popular belief, transformation doesn't begin at the surface. It emerges from the depths we are often afraid to explore. Origins of addiction. At first glance, addiction may seem like a mere destructive behavior or a deliberate choice. However, upon closer examination, it often reveals its roots in deep-seated pain, frequently stemming from childhood. Trauma, emotional neglect, and even parental absence can leave wounds that we attempt to fill with compulsive habits. Imagine a house with hidden internal cracks. Outwardly, everything appears fine, but internally, the structure is fragile. These emotional fractures can drive us to seek immediate relief, whether through substances or compulsive behaviors. Picture a child who grew up hearing that their emotions were dramatic, exaggerated, or worse, who lacked any support from their parents. As an adult, this individual might learn to numb their pain and trauma with anything that helps them forget, even if only for a brief moment. It's a cycle that begins with the attempt to escape emptiness and ends in entrapment. The relationship with addiction isn't about pleasure. It's about fleeing from something far greater. Studies reveal that a significant percentage of adults with severe addictions experienced abuse or neglect in childhood. This underscores the importance of looking beyond surface-level behavior to address the root cause. As Carl Jung famously said, "What we deny subjugates us. What we accept transforms us." It is here that we begin to see addiction not as the problem itself, but as a symptom of deeper pain that demands healing. The cycle of addiction. Addiction often begins as an escape, an attempt to silence inner conflicts or numb emotional pain. However, the fleeting relief quickly transforms into a routine, a self-perpetuating cycle. It's like trying to extinguish a fire with gasoline. You may solve the problem momentarily, but it soon returns even stronger. This cycle is marked by seemingly endless highs and lows. Picture someone turning to food for stress relief. The initial comfort soon gives way to guilt, which only amplifies the need to seek solace again. Over time, this behavior reinforces itself, becoming a deeply ingrained pattern. This happens because the brain begins to associate that behavior with a remedy for pain, solidifying it into habit. Science reveals that addiction can physically alter the brain, reshaping neural pathways and making it increasingly difficult to break free. The earlier these patterns are identified, the greater the chances of reversing them. The question we must ask ourselves is, how can we break this cycle before it consumes us completely? The answer lies in exploring deeper perspectives on the root causes of such behavior. Psychological perspective. Carl Jung saw addiction as more than just a harmful habit. He defined it as an unconscious search for healing. To Jung, people view substances or compulsive behaviors as emotional remedies, a distorted way of seeking peace in their lives. It's like searching for water in a desert. The goal is right, but the source is wrong. In this context, addiction is a cry for self-awareness and reconnection. Gabor Maté deepens this perspective, emphasizing that addiction is, first and foremost, an attempt to ease emotional suffering. Maté argues that no one wakes up one day and chooses to be addicted. It happens because untreated emotional pain demands an outlet. Consider someone who grew up in a toxic environment and, as an adult, turns to alcohol as their only way of coping with unresolved issues. Addiction, then, becomes a mask for the true wound. The connection between these two thinkers offers an intriguing path to breaking the cycle of addiction: individuation. Jung proposed that by confronting our shadows and understanding our unconscious motivations, we begin to set ourselves free. This raises the question: are we willing to face these hidden wounds to embark on a journey of true transformation? Societal impact. In modern society, addiction finds fertile ground. Social norms often glamorize excess and instant gratification, while technological dependency turns compulsive behaviors into something nearly invisible. Consider the act of endlessly scrolling through social media. It begins as entertainment, but quickly morphs into a habit that disconnects us from reality and from ourselves. Consumerism amplifies this cycle, teaching us from an early age that happiness lies in acquiring, accumulating, and showcasing. Advertising and social media reinforce the notion that if something feels missing, the solution can be found outside of us. This creates a paradox. The more we try to fill the void with external distractions, the emptier we feel. It's no surprise that, in such a landscape, emotional and behavioral addictions thrive. Gabor Maté emphasizes that nearly everyone is affected by some form of addictive behavior in a society structured this way. Whether it's dependence on electronic devices or the insatiable quest for validation, the impact is undeniable. The central question then becomes, how can we resist this cultural influence while living in a world seemingly designed to pull us away from our essence? Path to recovery. Recovering from addiction requires courage and, above all, self-awareness. Without looking inward, it's impossible to identify the emotional roots that fuel destructive behaviors. The first step is simple yet transformative. Ask yourself honestly what you are trying to avoid. The answer may be uncomfortable, but it is also liberating, as it reveals the starting point for change. The journey is not solitary. Social support plays a crucial role. Studies show that meaningful connections have the power to restore not only emotional health, but also physical well-being. Joining support groups, religious communities, or seeking a trusted network can be life-changing. Practices such as mindfulness combined with therapy are powerful tools to reconnect mind and body. Ultimately, recovery involves recognizing that addiction is not just about stopping a behavior, but about replacing a destructive cycle with practices that nourish the soul. Activities like exploring spirituality, journaling reflections, engaging in prayer and meditation, or even pursuing creative hobbies can help fill the existential void in positive ways. This brings us to an essential point. Healing is not about getting rid of something, but about finding something greater to connect with. As Fyodor Dostoevsky once said, "There is in man a void the size of God." True transformation begins with a simple step: the decision to change. Have you ever reflected on what you've been doing to fill the voids in your life? Are you facing your pain or merely finding ways to hide it. Remember, addiction doesn't define who you are. It's merely a path leading to something deeper that deserves your attention. Now is the time to put into practice everything you've learned here. Start observing your behaviors with honesty and curiosity, free of judgment. Ask yourself, what pain or discomfort am I trying to avoid? Give yourself the opportunity to explore practices that foster personal growth, such as meditation, reading transformative books, or even adopting the habit of journaling your daily reflections. The path to recovery is, above all, an exercise in self-awareness. If this video has added value to your life in any way, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so we can continue this journey of learning together. Also, check out the suggested video on your screen. It's sure to bring even more value to your life.